Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick and mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I am passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you were meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. And I have my favorite executive co-host. He's back.
I'm back.
I feel like it's been a hot sec since we've recorded.
What?
A hot second, a hot minute, a hot moment.
Okay.
We'll just keep it clean.
Sorry.
Since you joined the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being here. And we have so much to debrief on.
Thanks for the invite. I felt like maybe I said something wrong last time.
No. Nah.
Thanks.
So today's exciting, and we are going to be diving into, we knew what we wanted to talk about, but we were just trying to come up with like, what's the takeaway here? What is the big lesson to today's episode? Because we are so pumped to share with you guys feedback from our epic weekend event in Arizona.
Yeah.
And we had 2 full trips combined into one. The first half of our week in Arizona, we were running our first ever retreat. The second half of our week, the back end, was all focused on personal development, networking, our business, some of our amazing friends that we've made down there. And that was also a really full week, just a very abundant 8 days in Arizona.
Felt like 3 weeks.
It feels like our retreat was 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But we have so much that we want to share, and everything will totally be broken down across a few different episodes. And so today's very much inspired by our retreat. And one of the biggest takeaways that we experienced and have already seen in the testimonials we've been receiving from our guests that joined us, and just the overwhelming feeling of love and gratitude we have for the 12 individuals that joined us, or pardon me, 10. We made 12. And
plus some dinner guests.
Plus some special dinner guests.
That's
that
right.
was amazing. And just how we wanted to kind of wrap that up into an episode.
That's right, Ali. So I think ultimately what we've been chatting about and what we've been feeling is, the idea of doing a retreat isn't something that just popped into our mind, over the course of the last week or two before we left. It's something that we've had on our radar for the better part of the last year, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, there's a lot of things that you and I went back and forth with, and what we thought would be great and how we would want it to be played out over the course of a 3 or a 4 day period. And all that's to say, it was effectively put together based off of what you and I wanted, and the ability of feeling really great about putting something together that you and I were effectively putting on, without knowing how it was actually going to land, how it was going to be received. But obviously it was received really well. And I think the whole point of what this episode is, and what we've been trying to put into words, or what I think our overwhelming feeling of this, is how we should never underestimate what the long-term effects are on other people from decisions that we made to take action on something for ourselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The idea of doing a retreat initially and for the first few months, I think it was just something how we thought it would be really cool for us, for our brand, for Benchmark, for certainly the people that would come on it. But I think we would feel very accomplished to know that we thought about it, we implemented it, and we completed it. And that's all true. But all of a sudden that became the second coolest part of it. Not the fact that we did it. It was more so to see what the benefit, the trickle down benefit was over all of those days accordingly, on all of those people accordingly, not just while they were there, but even when the retreat was over and done with. We saw it firsthand with their decision to continue that connection with one another, whether we were there or not at that point anymore. And so seeing that genuine wanting to continue the connection, all of that happened because of the fact that we were selfish enough to say, let's do a retreat that checks our box. And in doing so, we were able to see how remarkably well it went by affecting people's, hopefully their lives for, a long time to come moving forward, because of the relationships and the connections and the deep conversations that we had, and how some of them had them, on their own, whether it be poolside dinners, whether it be in their own rooms, whatever it was. We didn't think about that going into it, or at least didn't think it would be this impactful as quickly. So to see that is a remarkable byproduct of it. That's a little humbling, right? It's amazing for us. I think that's a huge win for us.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. And even just to sort of echo your point that we curated an experience and built the itinerary around things that we enjoy. And we selected a resort that we have been to before, so we were confident to go there. We knew the grounds, we knew the food and drink and experience to a certain extent, and so we're confident putting our brand behind that and wanting to then curate an experience in that itinerary that we would also enjoy, that allowed for really incredible connection time, group activities, ample downtime, which again, to your other point, was so endearing that there was like no downtime. Everyone wanted to hang out with each other all the time.
Well, everyone's downtime was intentionally spent together.
Yeah.
We told them, hey, we don't get to see you now if you don't want until dinner at 6. And lo and behold, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, everyone was poolside getting pictures of margaritas delivered to us for the afternoon. It was amazing.
I love how I brought 2 books on that trip, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to read so much."
You read one page,
I
maybe?
read one page, and I had to reread that page. I probably still have to reread that page, but it's just so incredible to see. You can curate this amazing experience and the itinerary. You cannot always curate the people. Now, I think that's a true gift, and we have some friends that are remarkable at that. That maybe you have applications for programs, masterminds, things like that, so that you can see the influx of people that are interested in, and then you can curate the room accordingly. With a retreat, or at least with our first retreat, we did not do that. We opened it up, marketed it, and then had our guests kind of sign on, pay their deposits, and build the group. But as the group was being built, we're like, oh my gosh, these are amazing people. And I think they are going to really vibrate well together. And I think both of our expectations were far exceeded in the connections that were made. And then kind of circling back to what you're saying about those lasting impressions on each other and the connections that were made, and what that means for friendships, for business partnerships, maybe referrals in business. It's just so wonderful to see. And that, I think, is something, and if we've learned anything over the last few years, is truly the impact of human connection. And I feel like we're talking about that a lot in our own life, in our business with the gym, certainly now with the retreat, that human connection is really important. And you can break that down across so many avenues, whether it be in a romantic relationship, friendship, co-working relationships, all of that. But the need for human connection is so important to us. And that has to be the biggest byproduct of something like a retreat. And having this group of humans was just so wonderful to see, even as the event hosts, and that we single-handedly curated this experience. That's a feeling that, I don't know about you, but I'm going to sit with for a long time. I just have so much gratitude. My heart is so full from witnessing the connections that were made.
Yeah, and not to gloss over, one of the things that you mentioned there off the top is the people that chose to be a part of this, the people that came to this, they played all out as well. They showed up, and I knew they knew rather what the itinerary was going to be. We sent everything ahead of time, and it was an amazing 3 days and change with activities and food and spa services and so on and so forth. That wasn't a surprise per se. There were some cool surprises that we kind of held in our pocket as that went along, to help elevate everyone's experiences. And I really, truly think that they did. But I think it went as well as it did ultimately. And I think the feeling of gratitude that we have is so deep for what this was, because the people who came by were not just bystanders. They showed up, they played out, they asked the right questions, they were genuinely interested in what other people were talking about. And they were very unselfishly willing to give any and all type of advice to help that person along if they needed a hand. I'm thinking of one person in particular who was on the trip, and he was our youngest our youngest member, our youngest guest, and not to take anything away from him other than the fact that he was the youngest member. That guy is so well developed in his own mindset and what he's going to do. He's a very, very impressive 24-year-old. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, he connected with another guest of ours, Adrian, who lived on the other side of the country in the States. He's from California, flew out to our retreat space in Arizona, knew nobody. He only knew me.
Yeah.
And I met him only 6 months ago, but came in, wanted to be a part of this, and took the time to listen to what our youngest member needed. And at some point within those 72 hours that we were there together, Adrian was setting up phone calls with other people in his network to help our youngest member move the needle on what he was trying to get done in that moment. He shared what his challenges were, and it wasn't enough for Adrian to say, "Hey man, definitely sounds like you're going through it. I'm sure you'll be good. You seem like a great kid, whatever," and leave it at that. He went over and above to say, "I know somebody who can help you. And not only do I know somebody who can help you, I'm going to make that connection for you today." And 24 hours later, they're having conversations then they would have never known each other at all, period, if A, they didn't show up to this, but more importantly, they weren't willing to play all out once they were there. And that goes a long friggin' way to move the needle on not just enjoying the experience while you're in there, but taking something out of it that you can then use to help yourself moving forward for however long it needs to be moving forward from there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, and I think it's so cool that, we approach this retreat under the Benchmark Fitness brand. We really want it to be like a recovery, rejuvenating, restful start to your new year, but, maybe with some good sort of thought-provoking, soul-filling conversations that we were really excited to curate during our private group dinners. And it's amazing to see and hear, even the story that you just shared, the conversations that were being had for sure around our dinner tables, but also in the pool, during happy hour, on the hikes, and that were so deep that I feel like we were very conservative for our first retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Not wanting to scare people off, how like, okay, we're going to like mastermind and we're going to talk about our big goals and dreams and business and life and where do you want to one day live and what's your business plan and goals. We thought, well, let's approach this from sort of like a health, wellness, fitness, recovery angle. But what the output was from these conversations and connections certainly fills our cups with what we really love chatting
Definitely.
about and lights us up. And it was just so amazing to see that energy flow between every single guest.
And it became contagious, right? As one person felt that they were comfortable enough to share what they were looking for, or what was holding them back. Even it wasn't just all the things that they are super proud of and what they've accomplished. There was also parts of these conversations that were much more personal and things that they wanted to leave behind, things that no longer served them, things that they knew were taking away from them being the best versions of themselves as soon as possible. The more people decided to speak openly and to speak honestly on any of that stuff, you saw the fire spread, and every other person then felt it was okay for them to share their story because somebody had done it prior, and so on and so forth. It was a trickle down process where it took one person to have the balls to say, this is what isn't going well for me, and this is what I could use help with. And then all of a sudden, because of the connections that were made, you had a dozen other people that said, you know what, I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to tell you exactly how I can help you, or how I know somebody who can help you. And now here's what I need help with. And it went on and on and on. And that's not what took up the entirety of the retreat, obviously. But in those times where people were vulnerable and people were looking for help and people were willing to help, I don't think there's a deeper, quicker connection to be made amongst a group of people when you can be as vulnerable as that.
Totally. And maybe share your most embarrassing story.
Yeah, there were some really good ones.
There's some good shares there, and that's also sort of vulnerable with it.
And that's going to stay there. Yeah,
we can't share any of those, but vulnerable with a humor angle.
Yeah, it was tremendous. I think, the idea of us doing this retreat or putting on, effectively becoming the vehicle for people to participate in some capacity. This retreat is nothing other than just it is the basis for which any of this could happen anywhere, quite frankly. It was beautiful that it happened in Arizona and the weather was tremendous and that we were able to, feel sunshine, see sunshine, and, have these wonderful uninterrupted days together. That's true. But that is the selfish part of our decision of let's take this somewhere hot where we can enjoy this personally speaking. The reality is this could be done anywhere. You could have a group of people that choose to meet, vis-a-vis a book club of sorts, right?
Yeah.
That you just have this group of people that you believe in, that believe in back in you, and in doing that, you're helping to move their needle. They're helping to move your needle, but it requires you having to you be all in. But it all comes back to what we started, where all of these connections, these dozen people that have connections with the other 11 people that came on the retreat, or maybe had some sort of connection prior, but got deeper on these 72 hours, or found out things that really made for lifelong friendships moving forward. These things are the byproduct of you and I selfishly creating a retreat because we wanted to check it off our box of things to do under the Benchmark umbrella. And we did it, and it's great, but that's not even the most important part now. It's actually nowhere near what I think is the most important part now when we see what these connections have evolved into being, and I know we'll continue to move forward with for sure.
Well, there was something that you had just said there that I think comes back to a deep root to something that we're really passionate about, and that is getting in the room.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of getting in the room and what happens as a result of it. And in this case, the room is the retreat. Yes, you have a more substantial investment because you're purchasing the retreat package, you're flying there, maybe you're extending your trip. So yes, there's a more substantial investment. But to the point that you were saying, it could totally be a book club, or maybe you gather a group of guys, girls, mix of both, and you meet at a coffee shop once a month and you jam on each other's businesses, or what's working, what's not working, your greatest fear in business, or going from corporate to entrepreneurship, whatever it may be. But I think this is just a great takeaway and a refresher that getting in the room is so impactful in so many ways, especially in business, but also in your relationships, because there were some good conversations surrounding that too, going through friendship transitions, or maybe it was a romantic relationship that really was not supporting you and what you needed. And you closed that had a tough journey to it, but then you opened yourself up, your heart up to this incredible partner that did come into your life. And now you have a beautiful love story. There's so many different examples, and just kind of going back to the same thing of getting in the room, playing full out, and being mindful that the room doesn't always have to be $5,000, $10,000. It could honestly be a $4 coffee, or maybe it's a $7 coffee if it's oat milk and a latte or something.
Yeah, show me where I can get a $4 coffee these days.
Yeah. But I think that's something that, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that we are so passionate about that, and that's something that has had tremendous impact for us, and even results, but also friendships, relationships, trajectory of our success, goals that we're setting and chasing.
It's the shortcut.
Yeah.
Right? There's no quicker way to explain what that power is other than getting in the rooms. If you're looking to do something, if you just want to be a bump on a log, and you're going to punch in 9 to 5 and that's what it is. Hey, cool. Listen, if that's what your thing is what your thing is. If that is where you are in your life, so be it. I have a feeling that's not the people who are listening to this show.
No, it's an entrepreneurship show.
Damn right. So with that in mind, I would say that for everybody else who is listening, and for everybody else who is looking to move the needle this week, this year, whatever it's going to look like before a certain stage in their life, the quickest way, the shortcut, is to get into the room with the people that you want to be around, or that have done it before you, because they have the answers. You're not figuring it out yourself, right? They become a force multiplier, right?
Ooh.
Yes, I read this somewhere, and it stuck. So force multiplying, it's when you or me or anybody else in the room, and we've been part of the rooms where other people are force multipliers, and it's not us per se, but it's when you excel personally first. And then, based off of what the knowledge is that you've accumulated, likely from another force multiplier in the room that you've put yourself in, you then work to excel somebody else's best efforts. And so now your experience combined with their abilities and their willingness, the combination of those things, and that's just with 2 people. Could you imagine a room of 10 or 12 or 15 that are all pulling for you in the right direction, that all have who could be the next person you need to move that needle that much quicker, or to just be a soundboard for you to throw ideas off of and hear what could make the most sense because somebody else in that room's been there before, you're not having to go through the trials and tribulations yourself. The working through it and spending however much money, however much time, and coming out of it with however much disappointment over the course of however many months to see it all out. You put yourself in a place where other people have done it before you, or at least done something similar to what you're looking for before you. And it's the shortcut to understand whether or not it's going to work the way you have it in mind, or maybe just a quick tweak. And then it gets to where you need it to be. We've seen it firsthand. We've experienced it. This is not us saying, hey, I think this might work.
Yeah.
It absolutely changed everything for us without exaggeration. It's not meant to be hyperbolic in any way. It is the one biggest thing in our professional journey over the course of certainly the last 12 months is just putting ourselves in a room with people that genuinely believed in us, number one, and then made the time to look at it through their lens because they've got their own set of experiences, and have us recognize something that maybe we were just too close to and not be able to see it for ourselves.
I love that.
There you go.
I don't even know how I'm going to top that. I have no excellent points to add to that. That was really great.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I think this podcast has started with, don't sell yourself short, essentially, right? You don't want to think that your thoughts and your actions are not large enough to only serve somebody other than yourself. That's where this started. And it's kind of gone down the lane of, hey, get in the room, Matt and Allie, get in the room, get in the room. I swear to God,
just in case you forgot,
we're gonna get it tattooed somewhere. I swear to God, put down our license plate. But no. And all jokes aside, I think first and foremost, you don't know who you serve to be somebody else, or when you're going to serve to be somebody else's inspiration. You just kind of go through your day and you do the best that you can. Typically, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So how you typically show up, whether it be in work, with your family, at the gym, whatever it is, someone's watching and someone's using you as their inspiration. So when you are putting yourself out there, I think you can't underestimate how impactful that could silently be to somebody else, who then goes on to silently impact somebody else, and so on and so forth. So I think people just need to get out of their own way, get out of their own head, and recognize that any positive impact is still impact. And you don't know how much that's going to affect however many other people you'll never even know of moving forward from there.
I love that. You're on fire today, babe.
There you go.
Love that.
It's that Arizona sun.
The Arizona sun. And, guys, full transparency, Inspire and Move, we don't have an email list. I know. I feel like a dinosaur saying that out loud. We do not have one. But what we do have is some really great ideas, a lot of inspiration, learnings, takeaways to do this again.
Damn right we will. It's funny because I don't know if we would have necessarily thought that. Look, full transparency, guys.
More transparency. We have a lot of transparency here.
A month or two leading up to this retreat, how many times were we just like, you know what?
Not doing it
Forget
ever again.
This is horrible. And it's not for the people who came with us. They were far and away the best part of this. It's a lot of work, man.
It's planning logistics.
Yeah, a lot of work, and unfortunately, a lot of chefs in the kitchen sometimes to kind of put it together. And again, not our guests, not our members. They're far and away the best part.
12 out of 10, amazing.
Yeah, they were spectacular. I'll love them forever more than I already do because of it. But it was really difficult, and we thought this will be a one and done situation. And it wasn't very long into it where we realized, holy shit, this is so much more fulfilling than what I think we ever thought it would be.
Well, hey, there's a lesson here. Never underestimate the impact and the long-term effects of this experience. And it's more so the relationships. It all comes back to the people.
Yeah.
And because all those people chose to
get in the room.
So where I'm going with this, with, transparency part number one, we don't have an email list or we don't have a text list. Not yet. So I can't say, text this number with this word, but I'm going to put my email in the show notes. And if you guys are interested, intrigued as to what this experience looks like, and you want to be a part of this second adventure and these incredible conversations, but more so the connections, I'm going to put my email in the show notes. Just shoot me a note.
Yeah, and not to make it sound overly cryptic, we're going to obviously share more on this as this moves along. We've been working on a really cool second part to what this most recent retreat was. Yes, absolutely. But we've got something that's in the works that will work its way through kind of in a mid-spring timeframe, I think is fair to say. But what's also fair to say is that there's limited spots. We're talking a dozen spots. That's it. And that's intentional because that's where the best collisions happen, and the ability to have the greatest interactions, the most specific conversations, I think, happen in a room where you have the time to do so.
And we're proof of that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're proof of that. We've invested in those rooms. We've invested in those experiences, and it is incredible the relationships, connections, and collisions that we have gained from it. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for sure on Instagram, the Inspire and Move Instagram, Inspire and Move website. But
and what's cool this time around is that no one needs to get on a plane for this.
Yeah.
At least no one local from our part of the world. If people want to still get on the plane and come in from other parts and join us closer to where we are right now, look, May, June timeframe is a beautiful time to be in this part of the world. So the accessibility for people to wanting to be a part of something that is this impactful, there'll be no excuse from a logistics standpoint anymore. That's for sure. So we'd be happy to see who's going to be the best fit. I think we're going to look at putting the exact right people in this space that allows everybody to get as much out of this as possible. But that's enough to be cryptic about it at this point. We want to make sure that, we're lining it up as we speak. It's going to be great. We know that.
We've got some fun things.
It's going to be a fun time.
This little one-day fiesta. It's going to be so fun. It's not actually a fiesta.
And it's not a fiesta. We're not going to Mexico.
It's not a fiesta at all, but we're still being cryptic. And, future retreats, events, drop me an email. Would just love to connect and sort of put you away and keep you top of the list, top of mind for when we come to launch time, and you'll be the first to hear. So
that's awesome news. I'm already excited.
I'm so freaking pumped, and we can't wait to share more. The podcast community, you will definitely have your ear to the ground. See what I did there? Ear to the ground and hearing all the fun updates and things to come. So thank you, as always, for being a part of the Inspire and Move community, for listening, for your love and support. And until next time, we will talk to you soon.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took 30 seconds and shared this on social media, send it to a friend, or leave a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I am so grateful to have you part of mine.